Thanks for being with me. Glad to have you here. I've got some notes for today's conversation because today we're going to be talking about how you can get referrals from realtors as fast as 6 weeks. And the main thing that I'm going to be focusing on is how do you get a realtor that you just met to share referrals. In case you haven't heard of me, I guess I'm not that famous yet. My name is Jeffrey Nelson, and since 1999, loan officers have been coming to me over their frustrations and struggles in working with realtors and how to get more referrals. If you're in that situation, just go to 6weekreferrals.com and download my free report. So when it comes to getting referrals from realtors that you just met to share referrals, what we know that we need to do is establish rapport, build a sense of trust, and ask for the opportunity. But what I find holds a lot of loan officers back from being able to do this is the question, how can I ask for business from someone I just met? It's very similar to asking a new loan applicant for a referral at the beginning of the loan process instead of waiting to the very end. Challenging conventional wisdom, isn't it? I get this all the time. I understand it. We're worried about looking like a used car salesman or sounding cheesy or just getting rejected and maybe destroying any chance of opportunity because we're worried about being seen or perceived as being aggressive. Well, let me help you out here, because if you're not doing these things I'm covering, I can guarantee you that you're losing business, you're losing opportunity. So here's what I found. When it comes to getting more referrals from realtors the first time that you meet them, your conversation needs to focus on three things. Your conversation has to be about them, it has to be about their business, and then you earn the right to have it be about your partnership. So write those three things down. My conversation, every time with a realtor, even when it's the same realtor, about them, about their business, and about your partnership. So let's break, each of those down. Let's start with the first one, and that has to do with having a conversation, about them. Well, the easiest way to do that is to establish rapport, right? And one of the best ways to establish rapport is to find common ground. How do you do that? Well, here's something I've learned relatively recently that I found to be more effective than maybe the old traditional ways that I had learned on how you develop rapport. The old ways of developing rapport was to use their name, compliment them, things of that nature. Well, what I found works even more effectively considering today is to exchange stories. In other words, just get the realtor to talk about themselves, which, that's their favorite topic, right? And the way you do that is just ask them, how'd you get started in this crazy business? Let them tell you their story. And then when they're finished with their story, you share your story. What got you started in the mortgage industry? What your passion is. And what I found is in the process of sharing stories, there's a greater chance of rapport not just being established, but there's a sense of trust that begins to build and grow. Sometimes you can even parlay off of those stories with your next story. And that has to do with focusing on a problem that they have in their business. Not so much a problem that you have, but something that's important to them, so much so that they'd even be willing to pay you if you had expertise when it came to that. But you want to focus on a problem. The bigger the problem you can nail, the higher you jump up on the radar. And so you could focus on problems with first-time buyers. It depends on what is the nature of their business, where their niche is, where their focus. If they're specialized, then their problems will be hopefully a little bit more focused as well. But you can always, every realtor has a problem with lead generation. Every realtor has a problem with not getting enough referrals. So you can certainly head down that path in terms of a topic. The point is that it's got to be about them and about their business. You see, when you've done those two things, then you earn the right to talk about a partnership. And this is assuming that the conversation you've had up to this point has been worthwhile. I mean, think about it. You don't want to be doing business with every realtor in your market. You just want to do it with the right one. So, by the way, if you are struggling with not getting enough referrals from realtors, jump over to 6weekreferrals.com and download that free report. Here's the secret sauce. This is how you get a referral more often than not from a realtor the first time that you've met. First thing you do is you need to help them rationalize. You need to explain to them, hey, the best way for us to find out if we're a good fit working together is to do a transaction. Makes sense, isn't it? You're giving them some rationale. You're planting that seed. The second part to that question, though, and this is key, second part to that question, I have found you'll get better results if the asking for business is specific. Now, see, I always learned if you want to get a referral, don't just ask the person, hey, who do you know that could benefit from this? Because you're asking them to think of the world. The first best thing we can do is break it into groups to help them think of that situation. Hey, is there some past buyers you have that their family has grown and they're probably in a position where they need to upgrade? Or do you have some folks that you did business with years ago and maybe they're approaching their golden years and they're ready to downsize? I'm not asking them to think of everyone. I'm trying to chunk it down into smaller pieces. Another way of tackling this is to focus your question around specific scenarios. Now, this is an advanced strategy I don't see a lot of loan officers doing, and that is instead of asking so much around a group of people, you're asking around a problem. Mr. Realtor, the best way for us to see if we're a great fit for each other is to do a transaction. Let me ask you, think about some of the leads that you have right now. Do you have a lead you'd like me to talk with because they're procrastinating? Maybe it's a millennial and they think that everything's got to be perfect before that they can buy their home. Now think of how the way I phrased that question, first of all. Do you notice how more specific it was? And yes, I related the question more around a scenario. And here's why I did that. I'm not so much expecting a referral on the spot. I mean, if I get one, hey, it's a bonus. Think about it. How many referrals have you gotten the first time from a realtor you met the first time? So if you just get some, you're already leaps and bounds ahead of where you were, right? Here's something, an interesting dynamic taking place. I mean, if I get a referral, hot dog, right? That's a fun trip back to the office. But the other thing I'm looking at is I'm planting a seed. So even if they don't give me a referral on the spot, I know a few days later, my phone might ring because when they're talking with one of their leads who happens to be a millennial and the realtor's frustrated because they know that they're not overcoming their procrastination, who's top of mind? Who are they going to think of? So the key here is to have 3 or 4 ways of doing that in your repertoire. So every time you meet with an agent, whether it's the same agent, you should always be asking for that business. And if you're interested in wanting to learn more ways and getting referrals from realtors faster, go over to 6weekreferrals.com and grab my free report there. Just again, to briefly recap what we talked about, how do you get a referral from a realtor the first time you met them? Well, you got to have a conversation that's around them. It's about their business, which means a problem they have in their business that they're struggling with, they can't overcome. It's keeping them from reaching their goals. When you do those 2 things, you earn the right to ask about your partnership, and you do that by helping them rationalize. Hey, best way for us to see if we're a good fit is to do a transaction together and then be specific around either groups of people or, better yet, a scenario to help them trigger in their mind someone that they may know now. And if not, don't worry, because the next time that occurs, especially if it's something that's highly repetitive, because of the unique style and way you ask that question, you're the only one that's going to think of top of mind. So I hope you find that really helpful. Share a comment with me. Post a comment. And if you like what I'm covering, definitely share it with others. That'd be the greatest compliment you could give me here. And again, if you're looking to get referrals from realtors and get them faster, go over to 6weekreferrals.com and download my free report. Love having you guys with me. Thanks so much. Have a great day, and I'll catch you next